Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker I'd like to introduce is Mr. Lindsay Grigg, the Captain Nickel.
Archbishop Marmatus, Lieutenant Colonel Mulvaney, Reverend Ganadazar, Honourable Charlie Lair, special guests, ladies and gentlemen, and of course the children. Captain Robert Kenneth Nickel MC of the Wellington Infantry Regiment was my uncle. He left his home and loving parents, William and Eva Nickel, in Lower Hutt, New Zealand on the 14th of August 1915. He also took part in the evacuation of Gallipoli before serving with conspicuous gallantry in France, particularly at Passchendaele, for which he was recommended for the Victoria Cross and ultimately awarded the Military Cross. He was then selected as a volunteer to serve in Persia, now Iran, with an elite military unit known as Dunster Force. Early in August 1918, these thousands of Assyrian Christian refugees fleeing south from Lake Urmia in northern Persia were being ruthlessly harassed by Turkish troops and Kurdish tribesmen. A small band of armed Assyrians fought a courageous rearguard action commanded by a remarkable American missionary. 3 officers and 6 sergeants from Dunster Force were detached to reinforce them. Early on the morning of the 5th of August 1918, a large Turkish and Kurdish force attacked them at the village of Chalkaman. 6 withdrew 1,000 yards to the cover of ridges on either side of the open plain in order to provide Lewis gun cover for those evacuating the pack horses. Captain Savage and my uncle, with Sergeants Brophy and Nimmo, occupied the right and left flanks respectively. The refugees were moved out immediately down the road to the south. The sergeants, struggling to load the horses, were under heavy Turkish rifle fire, and my uncle realised that no effective covering fire was possible from either his or Captain Savage's positions. He took a courageous and tactically correct decision to leave Sergeant Nimmo in position to provide covering fire as planned, and then went forward on foot to provide closer and more effective covering fire for the 3 sergeants as they struggled to achieve their difficult task in the village. It is obvious, and he must have known, how critical it was to get these men and the weapons and ammunition and horses out of the village. The sergeants succeeded in getting most of the weapons and ammunition loaded onto the horses and out of the village, only to have the pack horses shot from beneath them with loss of their loads. But thankfully all 3, particularly Murphy with his Lewis gun, reached safety. Meanwhile, Captain Nickel remained exposed as he covered them. Sadly, as he turned to join them in the retreat, he was shot and was observed to slump to the ground. His comrades made 3 brave efforts to retrieve him, but the sustained attack of the Turkish soldiers forced them to leave him behind. My family has lived for over 90 years with the hope and prayer that he died quickly out there on that plain. But the simple fact remains, we don't know and never will. All we know was that he was a Christian and that he is with his Lord. However, we all can know with absolute certainty and assurance today that the efforts of my uncle, Sergeant Murphy, and his fellow sergeants in particular, perhaps more significantly than had ever previously been recognised and acknowledged, their contribution to the ultimate success of that small Dunster Force detachment and its brave Assyrian comrades in saving the lives of these thousands of Assyrian Christian refugees. My uncle was just 23. His life was cut short, we hope in an instant, on that morning. Yet with this memorial to the memory of all those who served courageously in this humanitarian operation, We are able to acknowledge and remember in particular that my uncle died with selfless courage in the service of his country, helping his comrades and those thousands of refugees, his fellow human beings, in their desperate need. Gabby Kouakis has greatly comforted me and my family, really revealing that descendants of those refugees who had broken through the Turkish lines south of Lake Omeo not only remember my uncle's sacrifice, but truly revere his name. The armed refugees who fought so bravely with my uncle and his comrades from Dutch Force were the forerunners of the militia known as the Assyrian-ANZAC levies. It is a wonderful thing that the courage and efforts of the Assyrian levies are being honoured and remembered in this memorial today, and that the ties which bind us all are now better known. On behalf of my uncle, Captain Robert Kenneth Nicol MC, and his descendants, my son and I honour the Assyrian community in Australia for creating this permanent memorial to those in whom they take such rightful pride. We thank Gabby Kouakis and his fellow workers whose vision and dedication have made it a reality. We are especially grateful for the gracious way in which the Assyrian community in Australia, in this their solemn moment, so generously honours our own loved one, he who shared his humanity and gave his life for them in their time of need. It is a profound privilege to share this moment with you now.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Honourable Charlie Lynn.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the honour and privilege of saying a few brief words to you this morning. I have a very strong link with both the legacy of General Savage, in that I am a legatee, a member of Sydney Legacy, hopefully doing justice to his vision of caring for those who've lost loved ones, parents on service.